Welcome to The Explainer. I am absolutely thrilled you're here today because, wow, we are unpacking a truly explosive, high-stakes clash on the soccer pitch. We're breaking down the intense, back-and-forth thriller between the U.S. men's national team and Paraguay. Now, if you've been following the squad, you already know the pressure is mounting, the tactics are constantly evolving, and honestly, every single minute out there is an audition. Today, we're going to completely deconstruct how the U.S. secured a really vital 2-1 victory. We'll be isolating the exact tactical shifts, the brilliant individual skills, and, yeah, the defensive vulnerabilities that totally defined this match. But right off the bat, before we even look at a single pass or goal, we've got to talk about the context, which is beautifully summarized by the number 6. There are literally just 6 games remaining for the U.S. before the 2026 World Cup gets underway. Just 6 opportunities left for these players to force themselves into the starting lineup and prove they're ready for the world's biggest stage. Every touch, every tackle, every transition, it all matters right now. The runway is incredibly short.
And that really brings us to the setting for this chaotic showdown. Right on the banks of the Delaware River in Chester, Pennsylvania, the atmosphere was just electric. The U.S. came into this window having recently tied Ecuador and beaten Australia. Meanwhile, Paraguay, who, by the way, is also bound for the World Cup, stepped onto that pitch absolutely desperate to improve their record, having only won 1 of their last 5. The stage was perfectly set for a gritty, physical, proving ground kind of game.
So, what was the actual game plan? Well, it really boils down to this exact phrase from the broadcast: the intensity to press the ball. This was the defining characteristic of the U.S. team right out of the gate. They didn't just want to casually hold possession, they wanted to force errors. They wanted to completely suffocate Paraguay's backline, which was spearheaded by their captain, Gustavo Gomez. But, as we're going to see in a minute, this aggressive front foot strategy, it's a massive double-edged sword.
Okay, let's take a quick look at the roadmap of how this match actually unfolded. 4th minute, we've got a Reina goal. 10th minute, a Paraguay equalizer. And then, the final 20 minutes, a Balagoon winner. A perfect 3-act structure.
Act 1. Reina's explosive start.
The U.S. immediately established dominance, and within the blink of an eye, that tactical pressing we just talked about paid massive dividends. So let's look at how this goal actually materialized inside of 4 short minutes. It started with a perfectly weighted curled cross into the box from Brendan Aronson, but the real magic happened with Reina. Surrounded by blue Paraguayan jerseys, he uses this beautiful little hesitation and a step over to get onto his right foot. He takes a look over his shoulder, somehow gets lost in the coverage between 3 defenders, and then delivers this powerful header that crashes off the top of the crossbar and into the back of the net. I mean, there was absolutely nothing the Paraguayan goalkeeper could do.
And this brilliantly illustrates the personal significance of the moment too. You have to remember, this was Reina's first start since the Copa America. To come out and make your mark inside of 4 minutes under that kind of intense pressure, that is a massive statement. It showed he wasn't just back on the pitch. He was back to dictate the terms of the game.
But then we get to Act 2. Paraguay strikes back.
Notice the stark contrast here. We mentioned the high-intensity pressing the U.S. wanted to establish. But here's the catch. When you press high, you absolutely have to win the ball, or at the very least disrupt the pass. Because if you don't, you trigger the vulnerability you see on the right, a super dangerous defensive transition with a total lack of ball pressure. And that is exactly what Paraguay exploited to tie this game right back up.
Here is exactly how that equalizer happened. The U.S. turns it over, leaving 0 pressure on the ball carrier. Literally none. And if you give a Premier League attacker like Miguel Almiron time to look up, he is going to punish you. He exploits this massive real estate left by the pushed-up U.S. wingbacks, using his incredible speed to get right in behind the line. A quick first-time ball into the box, and Alex Arce heads it home. Boom. 10 minutes in, 1-1. A really harsh lesson in transition defense.
Which leads us into Section 3, the mid-game grind.
After that totally chaotic opening, both teams kind of realized they could really hurt each other, and it led to this fierce, physical, highly tactical battle in the midfield. You had Sergino Dest making incredibly positive plays, just driving hard down the left side right to the byline. You had Christian Roldan desperately looking for his first international goal, executing a beautiful cutback and firing a strike that the keeper just barely managed to pounce on. And on the defensive side of things, Miles Robinson was making these fierce, absolutely necessary tackles. In fact, Robinson actually picked up a yellow card for attempting to trip Almiron to stop a counterattack. It's actually a perfect example of a defender knowing exactly when he needs to sacrifice himself to break up a dangerous play.
All right, Act 3, Balagoon secures the win.
So this grinding pressure cooked the Paraguayan defense for a solid hour.
The U.S. desperately needed someone to step up and break the deadlock, and they finally found their answer through relentless pressure and some absolutely beautiful link-up play. Let's walk through this match-winning sequence step by step because it is a literal masterclass in attacking persistence. Step 1. It starts with Fuller and Balogun. He uses this lovely, delicate little skill to force a turnover and set up Gio Reyna. Step 2. Reyna doesn't hesitate for a second. He takes the ball and drives a dangerous pass right across the face of the goal. And finally, step 3. Balogun, who never once stopped his run after initiating the play, is waiting perfectly inside the box to absolutely hammer it home. The scorer of the first goal turns provider for the second, and the U.S. jumps right back in front.
To put that into perspective, the key takeaway here is Balogun's rising consistency. With that strike, he scored on his third start in a row. That is the exact kind of reliable, clinical finishing this team desperately needs from their starting attackers as they look toward the global stage. I mean, he started the play, he finished the play, and he definitely proved he belongs at the tip of the spear.
Section 4. Final Whistle Takeaways.
Those final moments, pure, unadulterated stoppage time chaos. Paraguay was hunting for a second equalizer, and Almiron launched this wicked, swerving shot that forced keeper Freeze into a brilliant stretching save over the bar. At the other end, substitutes Diego Luna and Ricardo Pepi linked up for a massive late chance where Pepi was just barely denied. And amidst all this end-to-end panic, tempers really flared, earning Reyna a yellow card for a frustrating shove in the back. Because, let's be honest, it really wouldn't be international soccer without a little bit of a grinding street fight right at the finish line, right?
But when the referee finally blew the whistle to end the match in Chester, the number on the board was the only one that mattered: 2-1. A hard-fought, completely essential victory for the United States. They showcased brilliant attacking flair early on, they suffered for their defensive lapses, but ultimately they showed the resilience to grind out a win against a really tough South American opponent.
So, what does this all mean? Well, it leaves us with this final, burning question to close out our explainer. With only 6 matches left before the World Cup, is the U.S. men's national team's defense truly ready for the world stage? We saw the brilliance of Reyna and Balogun today, no doubt, but we also saw how quickly top-tier speed, like Almiron's, can completely carve open a high-pressing defense. They clearly have the firepower, but closing down those massive spaces on the wings, that's going to be the true test of their World Cup readiness. Think about that as we count down those final 6 games. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and keep your eyes on the pitch.